While growing up, people called me all sorts of names. They called me names that I never expected would be called to an innocent young boy who never knew anything. There were times that I looked at myself, and when I reasoned it, I didn't even know what I was becoming. There were times I hid myself from the outside world because of misjudgments, because people would misunderstand me, because even me stepping outside will cause people to judge my body, judge my voice, judge the way I stood, judge the way I talked, simply because I was slightly feminine, or I am slightly feminine. And in those moments, I let fear take the best of me. I was scared of showing my face to the world that is owned by God. They're not even human being owned. I was scared of being mistaken for someone that I am not. And that actually made me stay hidden. But while growing up, I discovered something. I started realizing that most of their voices, even when they speak while I walk on the road, has silenced. They still talk, they talk even louder, but I hear less of what they say. I don't know if this also is the same with you, but I know lots of young boys have been battling or are battling with this currently. People calling us names that we're not simply because we're slightly feminine. Most times it's probably because of um, genetic traits that were passed down from us to our parents that caused us to be slightly or to be feminine, but nobody wants to see that. Before I had myself boxed in the four corners of my room simply because of that, but now I believe my voice also deserves to be heard. It's okay for me to be seen. And even though I stay indoors sometimes, it's not because I fear what people would say, it's because I just want my peace, right? So that fear has gone, but now it's my peace that I seek. The fear of the outdoors, the fear of being called names is all faded. It's like the sound of their voices is something I no longer hear. And that is why this episode matters. Because sometimes we don't just grow up, we outgrow fear. We outgrow the lies we have been told. We outgrow the versions of ourselves that was only trying to survive. This is episode 3 of the Go Table podcast. And today's episode has to do with, or this week's episode is talking about outgrowing your old self, letting go to grow. Outgrowing is not just about moving forward. It's about laying something down. It's about giving up an old habit, probably a toxic mindset, or probably a lie you've been told in the past. Maybe even a version of you that has learned to survive and not the wholeness. Letting go is actually hard because sometimes the things that we want to release are the same things that once kept us safe. So I asked our growth table circle some honest and real questions. One of the questions is, what is one belief or habit from your past that you had to let go in order for you to grow, and how did that change your life? So please let's listen.
Okay, so for me, mine is the habit of overthinking. I think too much before making decisions, so much that I would often end up not making any decision at all. At first, it felt like me being cautious, you know, but in reality, I was trapping myself in endless loops of what ifs. So, what if I fail? What if I don't get what the desired outcome I want? And you know how overthinking can now become a barrier. It kept me from trusting myself and feeding me with constant fear of failure. You know, I once had a spoken word video for a contest, and I just spent so much of the time, you know, asking myself, why should I do it? Why shouldn't I do it? That by the end of the day, I was already overwhelmed by it that I ended up not even moving forward or even taking any step at all. So that's how overthinking can make you feel. It can deprive you of certain things you need to take actions to do. So, but eventually, I had to realize that growth meant letting go of the need to have everything figured out. You don't necessarily need to think too much about it. Don't, yeah, you need to think, but not too much for your own good. And even if it's 30% of the work you've already put in, that's a start. Rather than overthinking, that's a start. And honestly, that mindset shift changed everything.
I used to believe that I needed to be some kind of way for people to like me. I used to be a people's pleaser. I wanted people to like me for who they wanted me to be and not who I was. I would like what they like, even if I don't like it. I would say yes to what I am not comfortable with, all just to feel accepted in some kind of way. Anyways, I let go of that behavior because I realized I only have one life and I need to live it and live it for myself alone. And people I was not trying to please, I was trying so hard to please. They're never going to like me anyways, like they never liked me anyways. And it changed my life because these people that came to my life after I stopped pretending became my best of friends, and I didn't need to pretend to be anybody for them to accept me or like me. And in fact, it was training to be living a double life, to be pretentious. So I'm glad I took that decision.
Wow, wow, wow. So much truth in those answers. And it reminded me of something that I personally had to let go of. I had to let go of that belief that being emotionally strong meant keeping everything inside. Most times now I learn to voice out, right? I used to wear silence like a badge. When people say all sorts of things to me, I carry it like this heavy load, right? I carry it without probably thinking that once I spill it out or once I speak out, people get offended or people talk trash to me and all. But I've learned that learning to talk, to feel, it has helped me breathe. It has helped me overcome that fear of the outside world. It has helped me connect with people. And it's not weakness, it's actually strength. Letting go is not easy, but sometimes it's the only way to make room for who we are becoming. You know that one of the most beautiful parts of growth is that you don't always notice it while it's happening. It's not always loud. It doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it shows up in a quiet moment. Most times when I reflect back at my story, I discover that I didn't even know how it happened. I just discovered that probably due to my exposure, people I meet and all, I just changed overnight. Like when you react differently to something that you used to break to, or when someone tries to trigger the old version of you and it just doesn't stick anymore. So on this basis, I also asked the growth table circle one additional question, which is, when did you realize that you were no longer the person you used to be, and what moment made you proud of that change? And I got some responses. Please, let's listen to them as well.
I realized I was no longer the person I used to be the day I stopped giving up when things got hard and chose to fight through instead. So there was this night I'll never forget. I had created a video for a contest and the deadline was the next morning. I'd done most of the editing, but suddenly I found out that everything I had worked on just disappeared. All the edited work was gone, only the raw files remained. I was devastated at that point. In the past, that's just my sign. That's the breaking point. In the past, I would just call it a quit, go to the bed and sleep. But then that particular night, something shifted in me. I said to myself, I've not come this far to stop here. So I stayed up re-editing what I had done before, from scratch, and strangely, I was able to meet up with the deadline. I was able to submit before the deadline. So that moment shaped me. It showed me that I could push through no matter what, whether it's lack of electricity, poor internet connection, or tight deadlines. Since then, I've kept that same mindset, focus on the goal, not the obstacle. I've I've started showing up consistently, putting in the work no matter the odds. And it has really paid off. I began to win more contests, began to gain more recognition as a content creator in the Web3 space, you know. So my proudest moment was getting that first win. I eventually got my first win, and it wasn't just about the prize, it was the proof that effort, not excuses, moves you forward. I finally understood the biggest thing that had been holding me back was just me, honestly.
You know, every one of those answers remind us just how far we've come. For me, I think I knew I had changed the moment I stopped apologizing for existing. The moment I stopped caging myself in that box called a room just to avoid what people had to say. There was a time I would shrink, overthink, and avoid the spotlight because I didn't feel like I fit the mold. I didn't feel like I deserved to be seen. I didn't feel like I deserved to be talked to. I didn't feel like I deserved to know people, to connect with people. But something shifted. I started showing up. I started putting myself out there because I can't just die in silence. I can't get boxed up. I mean, God created the world for every living being, and I am a living being and I deserve a share of it. Right? It's more like a child being born into a family and the father gives out the property to everyone, and he also gets a property, but everyone is trying to shield that child from that property. So to me, I actually showed up so I can take part of my share in this world we are living in and exist as everyone else. I own my presence, my softness, my strength. Most times when I walk past and people say words like, he's gay, or people say words like, this is on a woman, this was say, Nigeria, why do we allow gays to exist? I no longer feel scared. I no longer actually feel threatened. I actually just smile and let go of whatever they have to say. And to be sincere, it doesn't walk 10 steps with me again. I don't know how that happens. I learn not to dwell on what people say now because I have lots of things to think about or to worry about other than what people have to say. And now when I look back, I no longer feel shame. I actually feel gratitude to God for helping me overcome that. Because the scared version of me that actually was there, that scared version of me that feared everything everybody had to say, is the same scared or is the same version of me that brought me here. Maybe you're listening to this and realizing that you're outgrowing some parts of yourself too, and maybe that feels scary. But listen to this. My story is enough to actually tell you that you can outgrow whatever thoughts you have about yourself. You can outgrow whatever thoughts people have about you. The topic we have to talk about, I just had to do with me sharing just a glimpse of my story. On subsequent episodes, I'll find the time to share the deeper part of the story and how I felt towards those points, the level of depression I had to go to because of what people had to say with their mouth. How often I had to lock myself indoors and get beaten by my mom because she feels I don't just want to run errands without realizing that I feel scared of stepping outside. How many times I've been attacked by people because they feel I'm a certain type of person that I'm not. Growth is not just about becoming better. It's about becoming honest. It's about becoming more real and being the you that you are. So, what are you letting go of right now? Are you letting go of those voices that come in from the right ear and stick to your brain? Are you letting them just enter and go off through the left ear? Because yes, when people talk, we hear. But you don't keep them in, especially when they are negative ones. I want you to ask yourself this question tonight. Who are you becoming slowly? How often do you let people's words get to you? How often do you cherish your peace of mind and your growth that you learn to protect it? The reason for these questions is because the version of you that you're stepping into is still waiting for you. And if you don't get a grip of this version of you that you're living in now and learn how to channel it properly, you might end up getting into a version of yourself that might not really be worth it. I don't know if I got that right. But what I'm trying to say is, if you don't own yourself, if you don't own your personality, if you don't own your peace, if you don't cherish or protect your peace, you will end up living a life of regrets at the end of the day. So that is just the little I'm bringing to the Growth Table podcast today. I think on subsequent episodes, we are going to actually have conversations or discussions with other people to actually know how they've managed to navigate that life where they get termed something they're not, where their growth was once in a moment hampered with the words of others, where their thoughts were overshadowed by the thought of those elderly persons who we believe were elderly but not knowing their children on the inside who lack understanding. Until next time, guys, my name is Joshua Salvation and this is the Growth Table podcast. And remember, letting go is not giving up. Letting go of some things is growing up. I don't know if this episode made sense to you. I don't know if sharing my story was able to get to you, but if it was able to, if you can relate to some of the things I talked about, do not forget to actually hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop your comment on what part of this episode interests you the most, or which part you picked a word from that can actually help you out. Do not forget to actually check us out on Instagram or at the Growth Table Pod and follow us. All right, and if you want to be a part of the Growth Table community where your voice is going to be heard, or the Growth Table circle where your voice is going to be heard, where you can share your thoughts on topics week by week, you can actually drop a comment and I'll actually get you added up. Enjoy the rest of your day, and this is goodbye from me.